This is the Perfectionism Project, the only podcast created specifically for perfectionists who are building businesses. I'm your host, Sam Laura Brown, perfectionism expert and entrepreneur. I teach perfectionists how to plan properly, consistently follow through, and rest without guilt so they can build profitable and fulfilling businesses without burning out. I've helped over 1,000 perfectionist entrepreneurs do exactly that inside my program, Perfectionists Getting Shit Done. If you're tired of procrastinating, overthinking, and half finishing your ideas, you're in the right place. Now let's dive in. Hello and welcome to this episode. My voice probably sounds a little bit different to normal as it is 6 a.m. and I am here in my office in the dark so that the light of the room doesn't wake up my kids, and just recording this for you so I can get this episode to you. So this episode that you're about to hear is going to be incredibly helpful. And if you've already signed up for PGSD for the Get Out of Your Own Way challenge, this is just going to get you so excited to get started on Monday. So in case you haven't heard, starting on Monday, the 17th of August, we are doing the Get Out of Your Own Way challenge inside my coaching program, Perfectionists Getting Shit Done. You are invited to join us. This is a challenge where you'll be guided very simply through the process of setting your growth goal, starting power planning so you know exactly what to work on during the week and you can actually get it done. Getting clean rest to fuel yourself up to do those courageous things you need to do. And then you'll be completing something essential for your business that you haven't been able to get done on your own. And it's a 5-week challenge. Did I say that? It is something so practical. It combines mindset work and practical productivity tools for your perfectionist brain so that you can become the person who can get shit done. You stop stopping yourself, you stop getting in your own way, and you are confidently and consistently following through on the things you know you need to do to build your business instead of procrastinating, overthinking, being in that all or nothing mindset and falling off the wagon, being paralyzed by fear of judgment or letting your customers or clients down. You will be a perfectionist who is getting shit done. So you can go to samlaurabrown.com/PGSD to find out more about the program and the challenge. I also shared about it in the Get Out of Your Own Way series that I released on this podcast in the last 3 episodes. And you want to join us by 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, the 16th of August. That is when enrollment is closing for the Get Out of Your Own Way challenge. If you are tired of getting in your own way and of having so many amazing ideas and it being rare that they actually get finished, you can't rely on yourself to finish what you start. You just get stopped in the middle by a perfectionist brain being like, wait, is this really worth the effort? Is there maybe a better way to do it? Let me go back and think about the other options. Let me just go see what everyone else is doing. Let me just go ask Claude, what does Claude think? Like, if you just find yourself getting stopped instead of continuing on and getting the most essential things done for your business that's actually going to grow it, you want to do this challenge. This challenge is how you get out of your own way in your business. And I haven't offered this since 2023. That was the last time we did this challenge live together as a community. I'm going to be doing it with you. You're going to be able to see all my updates and ask me any questions. And we have so many PGSDers already who are so excited to get started with the challenge. It's all there for you. As soon as you sign up, you'll be able to go and look at the challenge, set yourself up for success. All the instructions are there. The private podcast for the Get Out of Your Own Way challenge is there. It's incredible. We worked hard behind the scenes to have the Get Out of Your Own Way challenge be something so simple and so easy to follow. We know we perfectionists, we can fall off the wagon with the challenge. So this challenge is really designed with your perfectionist brain in mind so that you can complete it easily, so that you can get out of your own way in your business. So the link is in the show notes. You want to go, just take a second to join us now. And this episode that you're about to listen to is an interview that I did with PGSDer Olivia Fox. and when she came into PGSD, how she got her initial momentum with getting out of her way was with the Get Out of Your Own Way challenge. So I hope you enjoy this interview with Olivia Fox. It's going to get you so excited to get started on Monday, and I hope to see you inside Perfectionists Getting Shit Done for our Get Out of Your Own Way challenge. In today's episode, I am interviewing PGSDer Olivia Fox. Olivia is so generous with what she shares in this episode, and if you have been thinking about signing up for my program, Perfectionists Getting Shit Done, then make sure you listen to this interview all the way through. We talk about how to actually get yourself to do courageous tasks, because right now you probably have things you know you need to do and you're just not doing them. How do you actually go from being someone who intellectually understands what is required to build a business to being that person who feels safe enough emotionally to do those things? So we talk about that. We talk about the importance of having a growth goal when you are power planning. We talk about so many practical things in this episode to really help you understand more about PGSD, but to also just really give you an idea of what is possible when you stop using advice that doesn't work for your perfectionist brain. Things like to-do lists and time blocking that are making you get in your own way. Even when you don't realize it, it's making you procrastinate, it's making you overthink, hold yourself back, and really not be able to move past fear of judgment. I'm so passionate about giving perfectionist entrepreneurs the tools to actually show up and be seen and feel confident doing that and be able to trust themselves throughout that process and have their own back when it doesn't work out perfectly, as it inevitably does at times. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you again to Olivia for sharing everything that she did. She introduces herself at the beginning of this, so I won't give her an introduction here. She does a fantastic job of that. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Hi, Olivia. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. So do you want to start by telling us a bit about you and your business?
Yes. So I'm Olivia and I launched the Resume Fox. It is a resume creation and consultation business. We create resumes that stand out in a recruiter's crowded inbox, because I was that busy recruiter that was sifting through about 100 resumes a day and deciding which resumes made the cut. So I create resumes that will stand out and capture the attention of recruiters and hiring leaders.
Amazing. And so when it comes to perfectionism, which obviously we're going to talk about, when did you realize that you are a perfectionist?
I think I have always known that I was a perfectionist. I don't think this is something that I evolved into. I definitely think this is something that has always been a part of me and my core identity. I did start listening to your podcast probably about 9 months before I started PGSD. And it was like someone was speaking directly to my soul. Every single, I'm sure that sounds like the cheesiest marketing ploy. It is 100% true. Every single thing that you talked about, like self-trust, self-image, the planning aspect, everything that went into it, just it resonated with me. I remember even a handful of times like feeling like deeply emotional about it, because it really like struck a nerve or like cut very deeply there.
Yeah. Do you know or remember exactly how perfectionism was showing up for you in your business? Because obviously, like I talk about the 5 signs of perfectionism and there's different ways it can show up. But for you, what did that look like, and like what problems was perfectionism causing for you when it came to growing your business?
Absolutely. Definitely saw procrastination for sure. I definitely saw like the planning aspect. I used to write like to-do lists, and then I would rewrite the to-do lists, and then I would color code them, and then I would cross coordinate, and like I would do all of the things, and probably was like the most organized person ever. Like, you know, portraying the perfectionism of, oh, I'm the most organized, but really was not at all. That was definitely there. The fear of judgment was there as well. I make this joke all the time that when I started my business, I like forgot that I would have to market myself, and like forgot that I would have to actually put myself out there, and that some people might like that and some people might not, and some people might think that it resonates with them and some people might not. So those are definitely 2 areas that showed up a lot, and specifically with the planning as well.
Yeah, just to speak a bit more to fear of judgment and the fear of being seen, because this is something that for so many of our PGSDers like yourself, like that, and my own story too, the fear of judgment is one of the biggest things that makes us get in our own way. And that fear of being seen to be imperfect and to be showing up and putting ourselves out there and people saying that we've done it wrong or we don't know what we're talking about, or us showing up and posting and we don't look our best and we're not happy with that, and all of those different things. That it's one of the biggest things I see that so many otherwise incredibly smart people are not able to actually build their business simply because perfectionism is stopping them from putting themselves out there and being seen. What did that side of things really look like for you when you were starting your business? Like some of our PGSDs, for example, they will have an idea to post and then they stop themselves from doing that post and things like that. Like, what was that like for you?
Yes, very much like what you said. I would have an idea and then think, well, that's not like fully refined. I think something that might be really realistic is I would think about all of the counter arguments to what I was saying, right? Like, I'm marketing my business. This makes sense. This is the reason that my business exists. This is why my service is valuable. And I was the one poking holes in it, like just as someone who is potentially judging my business or even just an audience member is poking holes, but they're probably not finding the flaws like I am, right? Like, we are our own worst critic. And so I was coming up with all of these reasons as to like, well, that post doesn't make sense because of this, or this, well, someone could argue this other thing and that makes my post completely void. I was almost like playing devil's advocate, but in a negative way, like in a not constructive way.
Yeah. And then with that, did that come up when you were like launching your services and actually starting to make money? How did that show up for you?
Yes. Yeah, I think with the pricing structure that came up a lot as well, like it probably tied more to a self-worth and a self-image thing as well. Like, how do I price things? I'm so worried that someone would think that that is too high of a price, right? That fear that people would not want to pay that, and that someone saying, oh, your services are too expensive is like the worst thing that could happen. And now I recognize that that is just a natural part of being a business owner. Like, there are certain stores that I don't shop at because it's too expensive, or that's not what I would want to pay for it. But for some reason, I held myself and my business to this completely unrealistic standard that I have to have a price that fits every single person's needs.
Yeah, pricing is one of the things we talk about a lot in PGSD, not particularly from a strategic point of view, but the mindset side of things is so important that so many perfectionists tend to really either like completely undercharge so that we can please everyone and that no one's ever going to say, well, who do you think you are charging that much? Or like completely overcharge. This happens a lot less, but so that like we can not even have to really engage fully in selling of just like, oh, well, it's probably because my price is too high. But really when it comes to the pricing and niche and so many decisions like that, that perfectionists really get stuck on like trying to figure out what the perfect answer is and get lost in all that procrastinate research and all of that kind of thing as well. So what made you sign up for PGSD? Like, what was that journey like for you?
Absolutely. So like I said, I'd been listening to the podcast for probably about 9 months before I joined. And I started implementing some of the things that I heard you say on the podcast, and at about like 6 months. And I had my best month yet. And then I did it again. And then I did it again. And I thought to myself, if I can get my best months ever from listening to her podcast, what type of potential could I unlock? Like, how could I get out of my own way more by joining PGSD?
And did you have any doubts or hesitations, or like, what was that like? Because I know a lot of people thinking about it, and for someone who's listening to this and thinking about it, there's a lot of thoughts that can come up about like, well, will I actually follow through on that? Because I don't really trust myself. I've signed up for things before and I haven't done it. Will I have enough time? And of course, like when we're in that perfectionist mindset and our perfectionism handbrake is on, we are getting in our own way. We're not using our time wisely. So it feels like, okay, but how am I actually even going to find the time for it and all of that? So for you, what did that sound like when you were thinking about signing up?
I made the conscious decision to go all in on it and to stop signing up for a million different free webinars and all of the, I would I felt like that was my real job, not being a resume writer, but signing up for every webinars and listening to so many different professional development, business development podcasts and webinars. And I made the conscious decision, like, I'm going to go all in. There is a financial investment, right? And so it's like, I'm going to go all in on this and really focus on it.
Yeah, I love that. And just from your perspective, as you said, like you got results listening to the podcast, and your thought about it was that's a reason to sign up. And some people will get amazing results from the podcast and think, well, that's a reason why I don't need PGSD. And so many of us perfectionists were like, well, I should be able to figure it out on my own. And like, I should be able to just take that and really apply it and experience that. And it's kind of like, I would only need to sign up if I was really struggling with it and not actually really seeing that, like, I love talking about like good to great, that you can have really good results from listening to the podcast. But that next level comes from doing the work, being committed, and obviously other things that are inside PGSD that just don't make sense to have in a podcast format. But for you, what was that difference like between going from being a podcast listener to being inside PGSD?
By listening to the podcast, you could definitely piece together a lot of what you're talking about, right? And what is seen in PGSD, the underlying, like with perfectionism, the 5 signs, but then also the underlying themes, like self-worth, self-image, self-trust, all of those things. But by joining PGSD, it all comes together. It's like there's a pretty little bow on top, and it's very organized and guided very well, which makes sense to my brain, right? Like it honestly just made it easier for me because I felt like I was constantly going back through the podcast and trying to find things. Something that really resonated well, and this is more just from like a mindset shift and reflection through PGSD, is the self-worth and like investing in myself and knowing that I am worthy and this is an investment. And yeah, it is a financial commitment, but that I'm investing in myself. And I relate that back to my business because my service is something that my clients oftentimes come to me thinking like, I've never hired a resume writer. I never thought I would need to hire a resume writer. I don't feel that I'm worthy. And a lot of people are in a very unfortunate situation where they're feeling a lack of self-confidence and they're feeling stuck. And when you're talking about a job, the livelihood, like how you make money, that it's very intense and deeply personal. And it's so interesting to me that I didn't see this before, but having been in PGSD, me investing in myself is exactly what I'm asking my clients to do. And by investing in myself, seeing how the business has grown and how I have learned so much personally, I hope that that's replicated through my clients, but also it's just a cool experience that to see that come to fruition.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And can we talk more about the planning side? Obviously, I love talking about that. But you mentioned about the to-do list and all of that, which I'm sure everyone has experienced, or maybe it's with whiteboards and post-it notes or different things. But yeah, we love just trying to like get it all together and then having to do that over and over again and all of that kind of thing. But what did that look like for you? Because obviously it's different now that you're power planning and doing all of that. But before PGSD, could you go more into like the productivity side of things and like how you were showing up? Like what did that look like on a daily basis?
Absolutely. I mentioned like the to-do list and feeling like the most organized person ever. With that, I would work 8 to 14 hours a day. I mean, there were some days I was working ridiculous hours. And at the end of the day, I felt like I climbed a mountain. I was exhausted, but I felt like I still had a mountain left to go and like I couldn't rest because that mountain was still there. As opposed to now with planning, I'm thinking about my day, I'm thinking about my week, and even how that plays into like the month and the year, right? And my strategic goals and all of that. And I'm planning so much better, but it's also an of the moment thing. At the end of the day, I'm like satisfied, or at least like feeling, like you said, good versus great. Like I'm at least feeling good. I don't think prior to planning this way, I ever felt good about my day. I just would beat myself up. Like there's so much more that I could be getting done. And well, I mean, I got all of those things done. Honestly, I don't even think I would focus on that as much. I wouldn't even give myself the acknowledgement of look at all the things that you did say. It was just look at this mountain that you still have left to climb and feeling so like unfinished and unresolved almost at the end of every single day, not just at the end of the week or the end of the month when you're like looking at these milestones, like literally at the end of every single day, just feeling defeated and exhausted, like truly.
Yeah. Did you have the feeling of momentum at all? Because this is something that I think, like, we talk about how we love feeling motivated and like all of that, but I think really perfectionists love that feeling of momentum. And I know for me in my own journey and experience that I think it was 2016. So for me, 3 years after I started my business, that I actually felt like I had this momentum, like I had the wind behind my back. I wasn't having to like push everything uphill anymore, that I was actually showing up and the things that I was doing with my time were actually starting to pay off for me. I was getting email subscribers, I was writing blog posts, like all of these different things. I launched my course, I started making money from that. But until then, I just felt like, and I worked the longest hours in those first 3 years on the side of university and working and everything like that. But I just didn't have that feeling of momentum. And I just really wanted that so badly. Like, did you have that at all? Like maybe you had glimmers of it. What was that like for you?
Bursts of energy, bursts of momentum, followed very quickly by maybe quick, but oftentimes very long periods of burnout. Like, oh my gosh, I've been like pushing this boulder up the mountain and I'm exhausted. I need a break. And yeah, that was not just like every couple of weeks I need a holiday, like I need a break. It was like every couple of days. It's interesting in listening to your podcast, you would give a lot of like specific examples of like scrolling through Instagram and thinking that that's really productive because I'm quote unquote getting ideas or getting inspired or whatever, like seeing what other people are doing when really I was just like not working and using that to procrastinate, right? I feel like you've given a lot of other really good examples. The rewriting to-do lists for sure. Like I would be like, well, I don't really know what to do. I know that I still have this mountain left to climb, but I don't have any way to like break up the mountain into mile 1, mile 2, mile 3. It was just like, I have this mountain to climb. And so then I would like rewrite the to-do lists or find other ways to like busy work and procrastinate. One thing, my bookkeeping, oh my gosh, I would just like organize receipts. I don't know. I like, that sounds like the stupidest thing ever, but I would like organize receipts and look through all the charges and like tell myself that that was really strategic and that I was the type of business owner who was really like intimately involved in the money and the financial side of my business, when really I was just using that to procrastinate on doing challenging and impactful things in my business.
Yeah. So what for you when it came to hearing about power planning, me talking about it obviously in the podcast and that kind of thing, what appealed to you about starting to take a different approach? Because I know we tend to love to-do lists. Like I love a to-do list. It just feels like biological to some degree, like that satisfaction to write it out a to-do list. But what made you think about power planning being an option that you're willing to try?
I think the burnout got so intense, like truly, it felt crippling. Like I couldn't continue without having some sort of revitalization, some new way of doing what I thought was great, but knew wasn't working, right? Like it just, I knew that wasn't going to get there. I don't think I thought of this in the moment, but seeing it now, having power planning in conjunction with the growth goal is huge for me. Like knowing that I'm working towards something that is specifically related to the growth goal is related to revenue. Knowing that I'm planning in a way that will support my revenue and will drive revenue, each of them independently, the power planning and the growth goal, are monumental, right? Like they are huge in my business, but when you combine them, that has truly transformed I don't even think I've been in PGSD for 6 months at this point. It's been like,
yeah, not even
4 or 5 months. Yeah. So it just feels truly transformative to have those two things together. It's not only a mindset shift, but the practical application through power planning. I think also with a lot of like other planning advice that I had gotten or had implemented come up with myself, it felt like oh, these are general ideas or that shift. So this is something I could try. And it just felt so like obscure almost, whereas power planning, it feels tangible, like it's legit, it makes sense, it's a step-by-step process, and I'm a very process-oriented person, so that just like, works for my brain. I think that's a difference to like programs or like free webinars and things that I've joined. It's like, oh, well, this is this idea, but there's not like a step-by-step way to do things, and the power planning to me feels very process-oriented and then gives me the power and the ideas to transform the other areas of my business. It's not like you're writing my business plan for me, right? Like I'm doing that. But the power planning gives me the tool to feel more empowered to write the business plan.
Yeah. And with the growth goal and power planning, I love that you mentioned that, because the reason we have you set your growth goal before starting power planning, and that I'm so adamant about having a growth goal before starting power planning, is because you need to have direction for your planning for what you're doing, because so many of us, we have such vague goals when our perfectionism handbrake is on, because we're so scared of disappointing ourselves and failing, and we don't really want to be able to measure if we're successful or not as much as we do really want to be successful. That when you actually set a goal for yourself, and one that does invite you to grow and step into that next version of yourself, then when it comes to figuring out, okay, what is, as you said, like the most impactful thing I can do, and it probably as well is going to be a challenging thing to do, what does that actually look like? And it's when we're struggling to figure out our priorities and like, where do I even put my time, and is it even going to make a difference? It's often because we don't really have a goal to anchor us and to help us figure out those things that we need to figure out. And then we can confidently say, okay, well, this is my goal and this is my hypothesis as to how I'm going to get there. And as you said, I don't write that for you. I don't say, okay, here's the next steps. And that's because I want to teach you and everyone how to be able to rely on yourself. And also, like yourself, so many people, almost everyone who comes into PGSD already has a wealth of knowledge about all of that strategy from other programs they're in, from webinars and different things like that. Like, we love learning. And so it's really just about having a process with the growth goal and with power planning that allows you to actually bring that all together and like pull out your own wisdom and trust it enough to then begin taking those steps and actually having the courage to show up and put yourself out there and do those things. So I love that you mentioned that, because as the coach, that is my intention for sure. That growth goal is really there to anchor you and have power planning be the best tool that it can be. And it's really been my answer for myself initially in the beginning, is to like, okay, when I'm wanting to do things perfectly and never do anything imperfectly and like all of that, and all I'm left with is like these mantras about like done is better than perfect. Like I can't actually like, I love a process and I need to like have something to really wrap my mind around it and like see how I'm spending my time, but not in this like really judgy way, but just a compassionate system to be able to manage myself and my time so that I can show up and do the things. And so it's really so important for anyone who's thinking about power planning to know, like, obviously it helps with productivity, but a really big part of it, I'd love to ask you about this, is just like getting your perfectionist mindset on your side and really calming your perfectionist brain down so that those challenging things don't feel as big and scary as they do when we do just have that like mile-long to-do list and we find ourselves pushing off to like going live on Instagram or whatever that looks like creating the product and launching it because it doesn't feel perfect enough yet. I need to be busy doing these other things first before I'm ready and getting all our ducks in a row. So could you speak a bit to, with power planning specifically, how that has helped you actually do the challenging things you need to do? Because you came in knowing what they were, but you weren't doing them in the way that you wanted to be. So what did that shift look like for you?
Yeah. A lot of it is definitely rooted in self-trust. I think that is something like important to note. I think the other part of it is like rooted in a combo of like procrastination and burnout and how that manifests there. It felt like I needed to close the business for a week so that I could have time to work on the project, right? Like we use the term a lot, like go to a cabin in the woods, right? And like work on these projects. And while that would be great, I don't think I would like to go work at a cabin in the woods. I would like to go have a vacation in a cabin in the woods, right? instead. So I think looking the way that power planning helps me is on it, two things, starting with my courageous task first every single day. Like I know what those courageous tasks are and breaking them down so that I can start with them every single day. That's what works for me. That's maybe not what works with other people. But I typically like get to my desk, journal for a little bit, and then I'm like, I'm going to do the courageous task, the thing that like really fights for that fear of judgment, that like challenges that and makes me feel a little bit uneasy, but that I know will drive the business and specifically will drive that growth goal. And instead of thinking of it as this thing that I need to do and in one sitting, like I need to spend all day or the next 3 days, the next week doing this one thing. No, I'm going to do it for 30 minutes every morning, or some days it's going to be 2 hours or 1 hour, however I decide to break it up, but doing it every single day. I think relating it very much like, hey, I want to be a person who is physically stronger. I'm going to go to a 3-day workshop and just become stronger, right? Like, no, you're going to go to the gym or Pilates or wherever you go multiple times a week so that you can build up those muscles gradually over time. You're not just going to like snap your fingers and magically it's going to happen, right? Or do it for 3 days and then your muscles are going to grow. You're going to do it progressively and repeatedly over time and build upon those skills. And something else that I have realized and that I continue to work on and shift my mindset around is something that used to feel so courageous and so scary to me. Like something I'm working on right now is automating my processes. And I was like, oh my gosh, my CRM scares the shit out of me. Like, what if I press one wrong button and everyone gets an email? If Resume Fox closed, like, I don't know. I come up with these random horrible things in my mind and don't know how I got there. But I was so like scared to tinker with those things. And now like something that used to take me 3 hours to like play with this one thing now might take me 30 minutes or 10 minutes. And I literally will block an hour for it and it takes me 10 minutes. And that's something that is such a cool realization. And also, you say this a lot in PGSD, like I know how to write resumes. I don't necessarily know how to operate a business. I have to like strengthen those muscles and learn how to build those skills. And you don't just say that, right? Like you're not saying it's not true. Like that's actually true. I'm like teaching myself progressively by implementing this on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a daily basis to strengthen those muscles, the business owner muscles, the automation, the removing the fear that I'm going to press a wrong button, right? Like I'm flexing all of those muscles and growing them over time.
That's such an important point. I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that distinction of the skill set that you have, and for most entrepreneurs, it's like this, the skill set of whatever it is you do. So for example, for myself, being a coach, for you, writing resumes. And so we think, well, if I'm good enough at that, I should just be able to have a successful business. And if I don't, that means I'm not good at, so for example, in my case, if I don't have a successful business, that means I'm not a good coach. And it's so interesting to just like really pull that apart. And this is part of getting to the growth mindset, is understanding this way that there's the coaching skill set I have and there's a business entrepreneurship skill set that I have. And to not confuse the two, or to have a sense of entitlement, well, I'm good at this one thing, so I should be good at the other, just to see I'm building my business skills. And also I have my coaching skill set, which I'm continuing to build, but it's not like the result of my business is a judge on whether I am good enough as a coach. And so when we can really separate that out and just see like I'm becoming more skilled at business, we can actually have and access the courage to do those things like tinkering in the CRM and like actually understanding it, versus thinking like, oh, I shouldn't have to even do this, or like all these different thoughts that come up when we have a sense of entitlement from being good at the service or the product, and just recognizing like, yeah, but we're also building a skill set of business. And for a lot of us, like no one has taught us that directly. Like you learn it by doing it. And that alone for a perfectionist really requires a lot of courage and vulnerability, because we prefer to go to school, sit in a classroom, you know, just like be learning it all intellectually. But in business, you learn by doing it, and your exam is essentially like the results you're getting back. And there's all of that mental drama that can come with that as well. So I love that you mentioned that. And I'd love also to ask you, when you say like doing the most courageous task in the morning first, and this isn't something we specifically say with power planning, it's really about helping you figure out what's going to help you to actually take action. So for some people, they have a slow morning and build to that thing. For others, like me, like you as well, prefer to do that thing earlier in the morning and kind of get it out of the way and do that. So it's really finding what works for you. But would you speak specifically to how you actually get yourself to do that thing? Because someone listening might be thinking, okay, I've already done that before. I've had the plan to do the courageous thing first. And obviously there's like different parts of power planning we haven't spoken about, like clean rest and buffer time and all of these things that really support you to actually do courageous things. But then the time comes and they have this inspired idea about something else, or they're hungry and they need to go to the kitchen, or like something comes up, or they distract themselves somehow because they're scared of doing the thing and succeeding, or doing the thing and failing. For you, and if you would mind sharing a specific example of this, if you can think of one, like how do you actually get yourself to do that thing? Because just because you know it's going to be scary or challenging doesn't mean it's less scary or challenging. Like it still is going to be hard. So what does your self-talk in that moment look like?
I feel like there's so many answers I could give here. So I'm trying to get, because it all goes together, right? When you start power planning, it really is that like 25 puzzle pieces click together to make it happen. And I'm not just saying that, like that is actually how I feel. Like for me, if I'm going to do a courageous task, I'm going to add in extra buffer time afterwards so that I can go reward myself with like a walk around the block, or like hanging out with my dog, or like doing something there. Like, yay, you figured it out. Or maybe it wasn't as complicated as you thought. Yay for you, right? And celebrating those things along the way. That is one thing. I can speak a little bit to, I think sometimes there's things that we need to do in our business that, like, we just don't want to do, right? Like, I don't want to analyze my bookkeeping. That's really boring to me, right? Or like, I don't want to do the Instagram post that I've been like putting off, and maybe I can attribute that to fear of judgment. Maybe I can't, or maybe I'm just like, I don't want to write a post about it, but I know that I need to, right? I think padding it with different things is really helpful, but also breaking it up and like looking at it ahead of time. If it's on my calendar and in my power planning, it's because I've identified that it is something that's going to grow the business, right? Like it is something that's going to drive revenue. And something that's really, that I've become more attuned to is if I keep moving the task day to day to day to day, I need to, or week to week, right? Sometimes that happens too. I need to analyze like why, right? Do I feel like I'm insufficient? Like I don't have the resources, or is that like a self-worth thing that is going on, right? Is it that I just don't want to do it, right? Like the bookie, like sometimes we're adults and we have to do things that we don't want to do, and I just don't want to do it, right? Is it that I don't feel like I have enough clean rest in my schedule and feeling like I need more of that? And so I keep putting this time off so that I can, spend extra time doing XYZ that I want to do. I think I wish I had like one specific example, but I think it's like if I keep moving something, I need to do a deep dive into like, why am I moving that? Because sometimes also the answer could be one of the things that I said, or like, maybe this really doesn't matter. Like I thought that it really mattered in my business. I'm looking at it now and I'm like, why? Like, does that really matter? Is that actually going to go back to the growth goal?
Yeah, what I'm hearing you say as well is ultimately it's that self-study. And in power planning, we have the third step being the weekly review. Lately in my power planning, I write it in my calendar as weekly self-study, because that's really what I'm doing. I'm looking at the screenshot from when I finish my power planning or my power hour at the beginning of the week, and then my calendar now, and looking at the differences and really just being curious about, okay, what is the same and what worked well and what changed, and that was something working. Like it's not that something changed that means we know we should have kept the plan the same. And that's why we have the second set, the little tweaks, to acknowledge that sometimes we get better information as we go. We overestimate how long tasks take and all of that. So there will be a change between the calendar at the beginning and the end, and really diving into those differences and not having to understand it all, but just picking like one specific thing of like, okay, I see this was on my calendar at the beginning of the week and then it didn't get completed. It's not on my calendar at all. What's that about? And getting curious about that. For you, before power planning, what did that side of things look like? Because often we don't have especially when we're working from a to-do list, or say even like time blocking and things like that, there's not really this kind of self-study that goes along with it. It's just beating ourselves up for not doing it, or like falling off the wagon. Like there's a kind of that dramatic side of it, and a lot of stopping and starting and all of that, the guilt trips for not being productive enough. Did you have any kind of like practice for looking at why you were procrastinating on things, or like spending all the time organizing receipts and things like that? Or is that something that power planning has really allowed you to begin doing?
Yeah, the latter. I had not no self-awareness, but like very little self-awareness. Like I didn't take the time to assess what was going on. I would like make up random excuses or play detective. And I wasn't a very good detective. It's like I wasn't coming up with the actual reason as to why I wasn't getting things done. I think one other thing that might be like more of a practical application is the tasks that I was putting on my calendar, like before, or on my to-do list before I started power planning, was like revitalize marketing strategy. What does that mean? Like that's so obscure. We're not getting specific, and I don't even know what that's supposed to be. So I'm just going to do something else. I don't even know where to start. And now it's like breaking down each and every task and getting it as specific as possible. And that's where I still get my, little love and thrill of to-do lists, is like by breaking that down and really writing it out. And that does help a lot.
Yeah. And does your brain, because my brain still does this, say that you don't have time to do that and that you just need to like start working? Or where are you at when it comes to that? Do you have resistance to doing your power hour and to breaking down the like revitalized marketing strategy kind of task into chunks? Or do you find that like it's easy to get your brain on board with, okay, we're going to do this and put it in the calendar? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think that's something I'm still working through. Sometimes I think of my power hour as just a game of Tetris. How many things can I fit into this week, into this finite amount of hours? And pre-power planning, it would be like, oh, well, like I'm not going to have dinner that night, or I'm not going to go for my walk. I'm not going to go to my workout class or have my clean rest, right? I'm just going to like fill all of the time with work, and recognizing now that that's not something that aligns with my personal goals or my business goals. I think what I'm still working through is like trying, like sometimes it does still feel like a game of Tetris, and sometimes it's less about the strategy and more about like, this is the shit that I have to get done this week, right? Like this is my to-do list and it has to get done. And sometimes it's not as much of the like fun business development marketing stuff. It's like, oh no, this is like the work that I have to get done in my business. And that's definitely still something to be like working through.
Would you mind sharing a bit more about the burnout, work-life balance side of things as well? Because you mentioned that previously, before power planning and PGSD, that the first things to go would be dinner or working out. And I know that my brain loves to do that too. Like if I'm like, I don't have enough time, I should just like remove everything that actually makes my life enjoyable and sustainable and keeps me fit and healthy and all of that. So when it comes to, you mentioned burnout earlier, and that work-life balance and taking care of yourself, what has that looked like for you when it comes to having your business? I think you shared with me before we started recording, like you had 180% increase. What was that stat? Do you mind sharing?
Yeah. So this past year in 2023, I had 181% increase in revenue from the previous year. And yes, I did achieve that with such a better work-life balance, such a more honestly productive and healthy relationship with myself, like holistically. A practical application is when I'm power planning, I put that in first, like my dinner, my lunch, the walk that I take in the afternoons. And something that felt like super uncomfortable to me was like, you stop at 5 or whatever time, like making up a time. I stopped working at 5 o'clock. And even if the task is half done, and that is so uncomfortable to me still, like it feels so strange. But after doing this for months, it really impacts so much deeper than just stopping at 5 so that I don't eat dinner at 8 o'clock at night, or like so that I actually eat dinner, right? It's so much more than that. It is like the self-trust that I am building and continuing to foster. It is like the image of myself. It's the stories that I tell myself about myself. Like I'm the type of person who prioritizes my health and well-being while I work towards my goals. And it goes so much deeper than like, oh, I said I was going to be done at 5, I'm going to be done at 5. And like even being uncomfortable with stopping the task halfway through, it goes so much deeper than that.
Yeah. And
if you're feeling like burnt, like the feeling of burnout, it's so easy to perpetuate that, right? Like it just keeps going because you just keep working more.
Yeah. It's like, as you already know, I love. I call it landing the plane, but like deciding when you'll finish your day, and like there's nothing more satisfying to me than saying I'll finish at, for me at the moment, 4:30, and at 4:30 on the dot, my laptop is closed, there's not clutter everywhere. Like I've had time to wrap up my day, close the laptop, I walk out of the room exactly when I said I would. And I know that brings up so much fear for perfectionists. And also this idea of like, well, I love working when I'm inspired. I want to just keep working and working and working. I love what I do. So like, I really just want to capitalize on that. There are so many different ways that we dress it up. But ultimately, as you said, if you say I'll finish at 5 and then you don't, you can't trust yourself. You can't rely on yourself. And one of the other reasons I love it is because when you are willing to say, I'm finishing at 5, even if that task is half finished, which often, and we don't even realize this, when someone else is involved, like if we have dinner plans with someone else, we're willing to do that, but not when we have plans with ourselves. But if you're willing to say, I'm going to finish at 5, then instead of us procrastinating because we can always do it later, it's now like, okay, well, there's a consequence if I spend today scrolling Instagram, because that thing literally isn't going to get done. And that's that like burnout, when we are just really working from this place of inadequacy and being scared to show up and put ourselves out there. So during our actual work time, we just procrastinate, and then we're like, okay, now I have the pressure, so now I can be productive, and now I like have no choice but to do the thing. And then so we get ourselves to do it, but it's at such a high cost because we can't trust or rely on ourselves. And that makes it so hard to make business decisions. Like there's so many other impacts. As you said, if you can't trust yourself to even finish at the time you said you would finish or do what you said you would do, then how can you trust yourself to make a decision about other things like pricing or niche or all of that if you can't trust yourself with something so small and basic? So I love that you mentioned the self-trust side of it and how Power Planning is really designed to help perfectionists build self-trust, because when we have that, then we're able to really support ourselves and trust ourselves that if we put ourselves out there and we show up and we get criticism or we say something wrong, I will support myself and I will have my own back, and I can trust myself to do that, and I can trust myself to be there for myself or to get the help that I need, or, you know, talk to the friend or all the things. Like I can actually trust that future me will take care of me. But when we're not thinking that, when we think future me is going to be beat me up for not doing it perfectly and all of that, it's so hard to do the courageous thing. So thank you so much for sharing that. There's so much more I want to talk to you about, but I also want to really respect your time and how long we said this interview would be for. Is there anything that you want to mention before we wrap up? And we'll also talk about where people can find you and all of that. But if someone is listening to this and they're thinking about signing up for PGSD, about doing power planning, about like really actually getting shit done without burning out in their business and turning things around, is there anything that you would say to that person who's kind of like on the fence about it and umming and ahhing? Maybe they have been for a while now, maybe they've just heard about it, but what would you say to that person?
It's a great question. I'll speak a little bit more actually to the growth goal, because that was something I've been thinking about a little bit. I think something prior to joining PGSD, I was like super nervous to set that growth goal. Like, this is how much money I want to make in my business. And having done that through the growth goal and knowing that that is my like North Star, my guiding light, it truly does guide every decision that I make in my business. And as someone who was previously like, no, I don't want to talk about money. Like, I'm in this business to help people, or I want to do this because it makes sense. And like, I want to do this because I'm a good person and I want to help people. Yes, that is still true, but you can be both of those things. You can be a person who wants to help people and wants to have a business and wants to have a business that makes money. Another, like a practical way that showed up for me, like a tangible way, is I used to look at every single metric that I possibly could have. I used to look at like email open rates, click rates, like views on social media, like all of these different things in order to measure my success. And those things, I'm not saying like you can't look at those things and that maybe there's a handful of metrics that you still want to look at, but knowing that the growth goal is the guiding light. And especially coming from someone who that was previously really uncomfortable for, like it was really uncomfortable for me to talk about revenue. It was really uncomfortable for me to think about how much money I, A, thought was realistic for the business to make, and B, thought I was capable of making, and C, like honestly what I wanted to make, right? Like those three numbers maybe are very different, maybe they're the same. And as someone who used to feel a lot of like insecurity around that and like pressure and like just like awkwardness in general, if you're feeling that way, the growth goal and power planning combined are like chef's kiss to feel so much more comfortable. And like, I'm not saying you're never going to feel awkward about it again, but it does provide a lot of clarity.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. We didn't even get to talk about like the PGSD forum, the coaching calls, all of that other side, the private podcast. But I love that you spoke to the growth goal and the power planning, because that really is like, I'm so passionate about giving perfectionist entrepreneurs the tools to be able to build their business. And ultimately, probably not good business, but ultimately I want to have my clients be able to be self-reliant and to be able to guide themselves through building their businesses and through the ups and downs, and not have to rely on, okay, well, is there a coaching call time right when I need it, or all those different things. That you have the tools you need. And of course you have the support as well. But ultimately those tools are catered for your perfectionist brain to help you get shit done without burning out. So thank you so much, Olivia, for sharing everything that you shared, for being so generous with everything. And do you want to just share, if people either probably themselves, they don't need to write a resume and they're an entrepreneur, but maybe they have someone in their lives who wants a resume written for them, or any of your other services, where can they find out more about you?
Absolutely. TheResumeFox.com, also on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook at TheResumeFox.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Olivia, and I will talk to everyone in the next episode. Okay, I hope you found that episode insanely helpful. Inside the Get Out of Your Own Way challenge, you are going to be setting your growth goal so that you have a goal that invites you to get out of your own way and makes it possible to do that. You're going to be power planning, as Olivia talked about in this episode. You are going to have a plan for your week that works for your perfectionist brain, so you're clear on exactly what to work on in your business time, and you can actually get it done. You'll be getting clean rest, guilt-free clean rest, so you can recharge and have the energy to do the courageous things you need to do to build your business and actually follow through on them. And you will complete something meaningful and essential for your business in the Get Out of Your Own Way challenge that you haven't been able to complete on your own. This is a challenge with accountability, support, community, coaching. I'm going to be doing it with you. You're going to be doing it with our PGSDers who are perfectionist entrepreneurs like you, who love personal development and mindset, who love a practical way to get out of their own way. They are doing this work with you, and it's going to be so good. So go and join us now. samlarabrown.com/PGSD is where to go to sign up. Enrollment for the Get Out of Your Own Way challenge is closing at 11:59 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, the 16th of August, as we get started this Monday, the 17th of August. And no matter what you've got going on, if you're like, oh, I'm going on vacation, or like, oh, I've got something coming up, this challenge is designed to be completed easily, no matter what is going on in your life. It's not a daily challenge that you have to be available every day and that you're going to do it perfectly for a couple of weeks, then you're going to fall off. This challenge is designed with your perfectionist brain in mind so that you can actually stick to it and complete it, because that's going to help you get out of your own way. So I had to create a challenge that you could actually complete if you come into the program with your Perfectionism Handbrake on. If I'm going to teach you how to release that handbrake, I need to teach you in a way that doesn't make you turn your handbrake on, so you can actually learn the lessons and release your handbrake. Hope that makes sense. But just know it's all designed with you as a perfectionist who falls off the wagon and struggles with consistently following through. It's all designed with you in mind, because that is literally who we help in PGSD. So go sign up now. Can't wait to meet you inside. We get started on Monday and it's going to be incredible. If you struggle to build your business due to procrastination or overthinking, or maybe you keep burning yourself out, I want to invite you to join my program, Perfectionists Getting Shit Done. Inside, I will teach you my proven process for getting shit done as a perfectionist entrepreneur. In case you didn't know, perfectionists can't follow the same productivity advice as everyone else. When we do, we get in our own way. So let me teach you what works inside the program. It's simple and anyone can learn. To sign up today, visit samlaurabrown.com/PGSD. I'll see you inside.